To clear up the timeline for some people who may be confused after the last video, they hadn't even shipped the figure to me when I wrote that on the 6th, but then they basically teleported the figure to me on the 7th. So I didn't get this like yesterday, I've had it for about a week now, and we are going to go on a journey together, you and I. Because for those of you who haven't heard yet, Haslab Rid 2001 Optimus Prime has breakage issues in the chest, and the Ultra Magnus often comes pre-yellowed. There's a fix for it that requires disassembly and then either cutting into some parts or sanding down something. I'll be honest, I don't know what the fix is. People have sent me the steps to the fix, and I thank them for their concern, but I then didn't actually look at the steps because I'm not going to learn the steps. I don't even know where the breakage issues happen exactly, or why. Though given how hard one step of the transformation is, I can probably guess. But we are going to find out together as I make this video whether or not the extra time Hasbro took to send this to me was them fixing the issue. If it wasn't that, then we are going to find out how likely it is to break this thing. And I got a lot of pushback from my patrons about this, but we are going to experience this thing the way the first poor bastards who got their hands on this did. And probably the way that most people who got this thing did. Because most people aren't going to have a dozen fans try to warn them that the figure they just got is going to break. They are going to get the figure in hand and they are going to try to mess with it. They probably aren't going to see a review first, and if they do, I swear half the reviewers on this site would have it break and then say that's not a problem and that the figure is perfect anyways. If my figure doesn't break during this video, then they might have fixed the most recent copies leaving the warehouse. Don't take that as a given though, as maybe it was just always an individual QC thing, or maybe I just luck out. Can I just say really quick though how completely and utterly fucking unacceptable it is that you morons let almost a $400 figure get out the door with major breakage issues when this thing was a borderline finalized design almost 2 years ago at this point. I can't quite remember if you only had the CAD models or the prototypes, but either way, the bulk of the design process was over when this was announced, and you took all of our money at the time that you showed it off, then you actually ran a separate crowdfunding campaign after that also concluded before you ever delivered this thing. What were you doing all that time, sniffing glue instead of working on this thing? How did such a major breakage issue slip past you? You know, the QC hell that's been going on the last several years would make sense if Hasbro just flat out never tests their figures. They just slap them still warm into a box and shove them into stores. Anyways, it's Haslab Rid 2001 Optimus and Ultra Magnus. No, I am not calling this Omega Prime. This isn't Omega Prime, this is Optimus. This is not a technicality that they can use to pretend that they didn't lie about never making an Optimus into a Haslab. What was this guy's name again in Robots in Disguise? Was it Optimus Prime? And in Japan, was it Convoy? Then it's Optimus Prime. I do not give a fuck that he had a powered-up form. It's Optimus Prime. What, is the Jetfire combination from Revenge of the Fallen also fair game in Haslab by this logic? Or just like any version of Japanese Optimus because they all have powered-up forms? It is cope to pretend that this doesn't count as an Optimus. And that's ignoring the fact that it says that this is Optimus Prime on the box. Anyways, first, your likes. Please give and maybe subscribe. It's out of my normal format, but I think I'm going to start in the vehicle mode this video, given that this is how they come, and if the breakage issues happen right out of the box, then I want to do the things in the order that you will experience them. I'm going to be honest, when I opened the package for the first time, it was both impressive and the first time that experiencing a new Transformer felt like work. There were just so many parts and figures and gimmicks and transformations and parts formings. This is 4 figures with like a combined 12 total modes. It's just daunting to know that not only do I have all this stuff that I can do with it, I have all this stuff that I have to master for a review coming out of one single box. So on that front, at least I can say that you get your money's worth. Also, I do have to say that this is kind of the culmination of something that I've wanted for most of my life. I had the original RID Optimus, and I still do here, looking like I left it in the bad part of town, and some criminals got creative with an angle grinder. But I never had the Ultra Magnus growing up, which was something I always thought was super cool from the show and was bummed to have never experienced myself. I think it was just one of those figures that was abnormally rare, so we could never find it. I will say that both of these alt modes really impress. They're big, they're beefy, they're pretty cohesive, though I do have thoughts about the super mode head just sticking out the rear of the Optimus. These are huge to the point where they remind me of what toys felt like in my baby hands back in the 90s in a really nostalgic way. Who am I kidding? My hands have always been bigger than most people's heads. Amazingly, this is actually bigger than the original. However, the Optimus better be huge considering both the cost and just how much of this is parts forming. I think the original RID Optimus is what gave me my desperate hatred of parts forming, given that there was so much of it, it was so tedious, it was so necessary for almost everything that this does, and as evidenced by the state of my corpse of an OG figure, it is incredibly losable, thus rendering it a complete husk of what it once was. He looks like a cadaver they embalmed 10 years ago and forgot to bury. And I don't see this being much better on that front, given the fact that there's exactly as much parts forming, and it's also more breakable. Though the tires aren't rubber, so points to this. Rubber tires are what seems like it's going to be a cool gimmick, but they wear out faster than you think, and they break easily or they just come off and get lost. Trust me, it's better off without them. There are a lot of gimmicks here, but word of warning, do not store these stupid things in the ladder. I had one manage to slip under the bars that hold the series of guns, and I don't know how that happened, but it was borderline impossible to get back out. Like how cords magically tangle themselves together. Anyways, yeah, this guy's got the gimmicks. He's got the swiveling extending ladder with the flip-out angleable non-blast effect compatible water cannons. He's got the bucket that can house the headmaster that he comes with, along with the control seat for the ladder, which does the same. He's got a half dozen flip-out ladder guns with separate missiles, though this whole apparatus is missing about 6 to 7 springs compared to how it was back in 2001. It's a good bit of cool fun stuff. Ultra Magnus, on the other hand, doesn't really have gimmicks, unless you count being able to put cars on him as gimmicks. Instead, what he has is mostly just a more cohesive alt load, with the chrome highlights in the front that are missing from the other places on these figures. and my life. Man, do I miss chrome being on like every toy. I can't really compare this to the original since I never had it, but at least mine hasn't yellowed like the OG Optimus has. Though I don't know if most people's are ever going to yellow this bad. He looks like he's made out of smoker's teeth. The reason for this is, I literally buried him at one point. I was a weird kid, okay? I liked to freeze my toys in ice. I buried other things because it was cool to dig them up like an archaeologist. I was 11, okay? But yeah, good alt modes. But we didn't pay for just alt modes. So how are the transformations? Kind of really bad here. Optimus is both the same as ever and also worse than ever, which both of these are kind of really bad things. Being the same as ever means that it's detaching 2/3 of the alt mode and just leaving that off to the side, and being worse than ever means that it is very easily damaged, which I have managed to do, and no, I'm not talking about the breakage issues that everyone else is complaining about. I mean that I made the mistake of pulling these side panels up out of the slots that they were in, causing them to shear off one side. Because they are not in fact just tabs and slots like I thought they were. You are supposed to flower this whole part open just to pull them out, which is something I've never seen another figure do. I'm gonna be clear, this wasn't hard. It's not like I monkey strengthed these out. It took an above average amount of pressure to get these out, but it didn't seem at all like a weird amount. Now this barely connects to the alt mode. Joy. Also, it's worse than ever because the spine requires an actually insane amount of pressure to get it to go into his back. And I assume that this is what's causing the breakages. Also, the backlights fall off all the time, and getting the head in and out caused me to scuff the forehead diamond. Were you hacks trying to design in like 5 extra points of failure, or is this just an unconscious talent you have? And then you have Ultra Magnus, and he's not a ton better, but at least I can say that I haven't managed to break him doing something that was way too easy to do. It part forms almost exactly as hard, but at least everything stays together with him, so he's much less likely to lose parts. The directions are really damn bad. I actually tried to use these, and they were basically worthless. Seriously guys, we are spending $360 on this thing. You couldn't have made this into a more clear booklet or something? And his backpack is a cancerous abomination that I think cannot move the way that they want it to move, but I can get it close enough. And then the robot modes are, let's say, flawed. Optimus, he's way too wide. Looking at the original, it's like they sliced a whole extra fourth of him right down the middle. And Jesus Christ, his crotch is huge. He looks like a dude who had liposuction but only in his torso and is wearing an adult diaper. Boy is as thick as a brick of oatmeal concentrate mixed with cement. Behold, the ultimate incontinent robo-crotch thrust. These little slits on his chest also drive me mad, because I feel like I failed to finish the transformation when I look at them. I mean, obviously the titty window should tab into those slots, right? But nope, for some godforsaken reason, that's just the way they are. The torso is also desperately missing the chrome. However, I do have to hand it to the blue paint. It does at least work as a pretty strong stand-in for the missing shiny red. Most of this feels pretty good, with some nice solid ratchets. But there is nothing nice about the ones in the hips. The forwards and backwards on these are horribly too strong, and they feel like they want to shear off every time you try to use them. Lastly, the head looks fantastic, but also deeply wrong. The chrome eyes, the shiny paint job, chef's kiss, it's like it was designed for me. Beautiful. But there is just no denying that this looks almost nothing like him. Visually, it's very angular and square with these strange gaps under the chin, and what appears to be the world's most gigantic nostrils under that faceplate. Seriously, what is this? His face isn't supposed to have that. Legitimately, this is like the exact opposite of what it's supposed to be, which is small, smooth, and round, without the weird faceplate cutouts and the nose that was designed to snort a pound of cocaine in one breath. That's not to say that I don't like this head, I think it's pretty cool, but it almost could not be more wrong for the character. It's like the person who got the assignment to design this thing was one of those people who doesn't like being told what to do, so he intentionally changed every last detail he could just to be difficult. And Ultra Magnus is very much, the scaffolding of a dude who is clearly meant for any other purpose than to exist himself. This does not want to be its own thing, it wants to be an upgrade kit for Optimus. 20 years of advancement and they could not figure out how to get his shins shorter than 2 Deluxes tall. The proportions are whack, his arms don't look like they're attached to the body, and there are gaps everywhere. This guy has mastered the lack of kibble management like no one else before him. I mean, that is the god backpack, progenitor of all backpacks and the place that they will return to at the end of eternity. Big as a Voyager on its own. And according to the directions, the back wings are supposed to compress. I can't get them to do that, and thanks to this set's reputation for breaking, I am not really willing to press harder than I already am, which is already insanely hard. Like, I'm going pretty ham on these. What, do I need to fully elbow drop them to get into place? Because, no. And getting the overall backpack to behave like it's supposed to involves flexing the plastic like that guy who jumped into the wrestling ring and had his knees bent backwards. Speaking of knees, why does Ultra Magnus have an upside-down Mercedes logo on his? God, this dude's kneecaps are individually big enough to be another figure's whole torso. I can't say that this dude feels great or convincing given that from the top he's missing most of his chest. And is it just me or does that face scream, "Oh, milady, you spoil me with these berries and cream"? That is an entirely unserious face. He looks like such a loser, I just want to take his lunch money. How does this manage to look nothing like the character, instead just being a chubby Quaker with bad hair curls and a dumb hat? So much for the cool, edgy brother. Was he supposed to be the younger or older brother? I always associated his petulance with the younger brother type, but the fact that he even expects to be the one to get the Matrix enough to be jilted that it ultimately went to Optimus makes him seem like he's supposed to be the senior. The figure size doesn't factor into this. He was smaller in the show. Anyways, yeah, this is an ugly, goofy head that doesn't look like the character and doesn't even have the Optimus's decency to be cool on its own. And this thing has the weirdest hands in all the Transformers, I swear to God. As for accessories, this came with a boatload. For starters, he has his gigantic sword that I have no memory of from the show. This looks like absolute shit because it's waffled straight to hell. hell. Why even bother with this thing if you weren't going to try at all? Optimus' ugly little pea shooter that I've never understood why there's a pair of wheels on it, a Metroplex headmaster that works with a lot of the gimmicks, and this worthless piece of shit that falls apart every 2 seconds because everything on it is on 5mm pegs rather than any dedicated joints. And it's actually a huge pain in the cock to get him back together. He turns into nothing, nothing, and nothing. And he was never a character before now. I almost want to say that this is worse than Cog, and if you know me, you know what that means. Again, why even include this thing if you were just going to phone it in? Then you have Optimus as everything important. And no, I'm not going to show off the base mode because no one gives a fuck. It's a base mode. No one likes them. So yeah, fuck the trash that this comes with. Mine's not even broken yet, and I'm getting progressively more and more angry at this set. You charged so much, took so much time, made it such a big deal, and then completely phoned it in. At best, the figures look wrong. At worst, they look bad. The quality control is clearly in the garbage given how these things break. The accessories aren't even trying for the most part. The designs are cribbing from 20-year-old figures. Basically, they're 100% flat copies with marginal improvements in minor places. And they're trying less in a lot of places with a lack of chrome, and the originals having lights and sounds gimmicks that these are lacking. And not only are the accessories not good, I actively want to not have them. The sword is stupid gigantic and disconcertingly floppy. The little extra guy is just a pain. Both of them fall to pieces for no reason and are annoying to put back together. The only thing these come with that I like is the headmaster. That thing is fun and it integrates well, plus it has cool functionality with figures of the past. This was a clever inclusion. Now the articulation on Optimus is pretty good. He's got a bit more tilt down on the head than normal, a good bit more on the side to side than normal, and a full rotation. Shoulders have both a normal and a hot rod joint to get all the way up. That's for the longtime fans right there. Backwards butterflies that undo the chest, elbows pull a 90, rotation at the wrists, which the original didn't have. Then there's something of an ab crunch. Hips are unimpeded forwards and to the sides and moderately impeded back. You have to rotate the thighs backwards to get a 90 out of the knees. I don't know why they don't work normally, but fuck us, I guess. And ball jointed feet with a good bit of free range. Ultra Magnus has more up on the head, a lot less side to side, and a full rotation. You can untransform the shoulders to get them to go all the way up. Elbows can do more than a 90 out to the side, but less than a 90 going forwards. Really weird, ugly opening and closing hands with a swivel and a weird palm action that I'm not sure that you're supposed to use because of a waffling on the backs of them, even if it puts them in a more correct orientation. No waist, legs are unimpeded forwards and to the sides, but you can't go back at all. Good bit better than 90 knees, and a slight ankle pivot. I can only speak to the Optimus, but this is barely better than the original. Basically, it has a wrist rotation and more upwards range in the shoulders, and that's about it. The older Optimus has better range on the knees naturally, and was probably a slightly better head. And Ultra Magnus is missing a waist, and the forwards on the elbows is kinda lame. It's not the worst, but neither of these are really better than you can expect on a deluxe on this front. Then you have Optimus' solo super mode. This is really pretty exceptionally easy to get into. There's not much to the combination, but at least it means that it's not annoying, which I remember the original one being. Honestly, I like this part. It does just enough to be interesting. Though I will forever resent a figure where for the super mode you have to flip away the real head and then replace it with an entirely different one. Only MMC does the awesomeness that is upgrading the original to become the more powerful mode's head. Also, the platform this is on has like no grip to the body. The proportions on this mode work way better, and it's clear that they prioritized this mode, but honestly, I don't know if it was worth it though. The thighs are still kind of juicy here, so they could have stood to be thinner in the other mode, and it really wouldn't have detracted here. And considering that the crotch is now fake, the real one didn't have to make Optimus look like he packs his underwear with socks. Like all of them, the entire sock drawer. He's got a gimmick in the chest being able to open up to reveal his weird square matrix of leadership. Hey, at least this is different than normal. But if you try to do anything with the backpack ladder other than use it as a stand, you are going to have the whole thing flay itself apart. Posability is also basically the same as before, since this is mostly just using the same joints. But the head has a bit more waggle to it now, and the ears are posable, though these are very easy to lose in the box. Hands are pretty lame with a swivel and a hinged thumb and fingers, but no secondary joints or individual fingers? Really? Plus bigger ankle pivots. And honestly, for super mode, this is pretty good posing, as for a lot of these things, posing actually goes down like this. But this is slightly better than before, so I can't complain too much. It at least stops being hideously wide and starts looking pretty cool. Though I have always thought that this version of Optimus is way too over-reliant on the red. It's just a pretty boring color scheme. Like, whose idea was red and orange for the chest? That really breaks it up, you geniuses. One of the better super modes for sure. I just think that the colors could be improved. Oh, also, before I forget, there are some sub-super modes this guy has, where stuff like the feet becomes missile racks and whatnot. Then you have the combination with Ultra Magnus, and I do appreciate the fact that they have to shake hands to do it. However, I will say that overall this is the worst sequence handling this thing. I love the way that the legs work, those are pretty fun, but the backpack is complicated enough, and pieces want to fall off enough, and no part of it looks complete enough by the end for me to ever feel really comfortable with any part of it. And I think I have this right, and there's definitely more going on here with a far better color scheme, but there's also less stability, and the backpack makes this thing really unbalanced, with this having enough shit in the way making posing kind of a pain in the ass. And once again, I have the same gripes with the colors on this thing's head as well. There's just too much red. How is it that the eyes and bridge of the nose is red, the faceplate is red, and the top of the head is red? It just makes him look like his skin color is red and he's wearing basically nothing to cover it. Also, why the fuck are the backs of basically all of the fists waffled? Come on, guys. The sculpting is cool, the colors are cool. I like the fact that this has this impressive chrome blast here in the center of the chest. This is definitely the best looking mode, being basically exactly as big as the Siege Skyfire. Plus, this guy has an even more articulated head than ever, and at least has a second joint points on the fingers. But otherwise, once again, this is about the same as the base mode on the posing. And I like this mode, but I can't say that on its own it sells this set, which if you didn't back this, I don't think that you're missing all that much. Normally, this is just something that happens to video games like Oblivion, but this is basically just a remaster. It's the same figure from 20 years ago with basically no improvements, but charging way more money than they used to. There are a few things that they upgraded, slight areas of posability here or there, and some minorly reworked transformation steps every now and then, but overall, this is the exact same experience from back in the day. It's even got the formerly common off-model head sculpts and everything, which weirdly enough was not a thing on the original figure. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't think that they were phoning this in a bit. Just like how the 86 Constructicons are totally new figures, and yet Scrapper is just the CW one again. This is also just the same thing again, with a fresh coat of paint, a few modern design sensibilities like the more greebled sculpting, and a bunch of accessories that you probably don't really want, or want much better versions of, like the sword. Can you really say that you want this, or you'd rather just buy a separate one that actually looks like they bothered to finish it? The robot mode for Optimus simply looks worse than the old one did. I just have a huge load of issues with this set, and the breakages are unforgivable. I cannot fathom how badly you dumb motherfuckers fucked up to let that kind of quality control disaster get into people's hands when they spent this much money on it. But I can say that at least mine, at the time of writing this, has not broken yet. You'll see if that holds throughout filming the video. And I can see that they are giving you roughly $300 worth of stuff. Some of that is badly handled to the point of being actually worthless, but I'm not insulted that they thought that they should charge that much for this. I'm insulted that they thought that they didn't have to test the QC at all, or design this any better than they did 2 decades ago. Like, the only changes were either bad or pointless. Like, why alter the way that Optimus's head transforms in the base robot mode? Was it just so that way he could be bigger and therefore more incorrect looking? That version of Optimus isn't known for having a big noggin. I think 30% of everyone who backed this are going to love it, I think 30% of them are going to hate it, and I think that 30% of them are going to be, fine with it. If you got this, what are your thoughts? And if you didn't, I don't think that you should lament not picking this up. It's okay, but it's basically just the same figures from 20 years ago, but uglier. And also, fuck Hasbro for the breakages. I am so deeply offended on other people's behalves about that. And before we go, let's thank a channel backer. And this time it's K-Dawes with 2007 First Strike Optimus Prime. This may be one of the all-time figures that I know the least about. I've literally never even heard of this thing, and that includes when you told me that it was your favorite and I put it on the list. I am 100% positive that I must have just copy-pasted that without even reading it. So, I mean, it kind of looks fun for an extremely early live-action figure, but I have nothing. I got nothing, man. And I mean absolutely nothing to really say about it, as I know jack shit about this thing. I'm not even sure what the size class is. It looks semi-accurate to the movie in the way that the old figures did, and I'm sure that it was a fun figure back in the day. Plus, I know that those old movie figures were, like, confused in a really interesting way because they were coming hot off the heels of the ultra-simple Unicron trilogy, and then they immediately face-planted into the pandemonium that was the film designs. But now I'm just talking about the concept of 07 figures as a whole. An interesting pick to say the least, though, because at least I'm learning that this even exists. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.